I'll start with the first question, and that is to Claudia. Do you think we'll have another buzzword or another plus or another something, or is landscape approach or this cross-sectoral, is that here to stay? What is your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion on that.
Oh, you have one over there as well.
I do think that the landscape approach, as we've seen today, we have had presentations from very different disciplines interpreting and reinterpreting what landscape means. I think that it is a notion, an approach, a perspective kind of lenses that does allow us to view things in more holistic, integral way. I think there's still much to do in terms of further defining. I mean, what are we talking about? And I guess each discipline will see it in different ways. So I think we still need to develop further what we mean by a landscape perspective.
Okay. I think it was you, Hailo, who raised the question, or one of your questions, related to, do we need a carbon eye for, was it the small-scale farmer? How did you frame that question? And I mean, how much do we need to look at the carbon to really increase, or for the small-scale farmer to make a living? Is it helpful to, was that one of your questions? And I'd like to give it to Christel, who's working on these issues. Is it helpful to have this carbon, deep carbon focus?
Yeah, I think so. I would say I think that anyone working on land should have this carbon and nitrogen cycle by his or her backbone. You know, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you should know your nitrogen cycle and your carbon cycle. Because they are so vital. And if we look up here in the developed countries, I mean, we have had a lot of problems with too much nitrogen on the wrong place and losses of nitrogen. And it's very much a management, not only a structural, but very much a management question. And it's tricky. And I think now we have to include carbon more and more. Although, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I think there are limited ways that we do, given the structure and the way global food looks now. I'm a bit pessimistic here.
That's allowed, that's permitted. Okay, let's see. We had Leif. You had a tremendously big question. Is it okay if I give that question to Andre? How should we manage forests, land, and water?
Oh my God! Is it for me?
Yeah. You blame Leif, and you can give the microphone back to Leif, and so we can hear his view on that as well. But what would?
No, start.
Well, honestly, I don't have this answer, and I don't think I'm supposed to have this answer. But I have some clues, and what you just said, I think this global food system is crazy. I think it's completely crazy. I think we cannot afford anymore to have this sort of system. Commodities flowing from one place to another, and you said 75% of all arable land is devoted to produce. This is there is no
for animal feed.
Yeah, for animal feed. Yeah,
or for
and I can see this in my country. Like for instance, if you travel around Cerrado region and also along other regions, you see huge landscapes just devoted to a single crop in a tropical country. And of course, this is very obvious that it's something is wrong on this global system. But to come up with a solution, I don't think there is a single solution. I think it's something that is negotiable. You have to negotiate solutions. But on the other hand, from the perspective of smallholders, I do think that we have to create a mechanism to recognize the role of smallholders in promoting these environmental services, in preserving biodiversity. And if you take, like in my country, for instance, I think that the footprint of even a conventional smallholder, it's much lower than a carbon footprint of any urban dweller. So I think that farmers must be recognized. And I don't see that this carbon market will recognize the role of farmers in doing this. I don't know, that's just some loose thoughts that I have about this.
And now you can hand over the microphone to Leif, and we'll hear his take on it.
Okay, I wanted to be a little bit provocative. But what I think is that we will not have a solution for the developed country nor for the developing countries. I think that we need to look at it on a regional scale. But I brought up the connection with the water.
Now I have a feeling that the only one hearing us are the one on the camera, so if you can...
Okay, I can speak up. So, and I also, when I brought the link to the water, I also would like to bring a link to the water directive that we have. I mean, the quality of the water, we need to look on the diversity. And as has been presented, we need to have an economical incentive into it. But we need to look on the perspective